Whew. Welcome to another video of Kitchen Thoughts, and for this one we're going to be making aglio e olio, a very simple pasta dish that should be very quick to make. And because it's going to be very quick to make, I thought we'd talk about a relatively small and minor and simple discussion. Let's talk about time.
Time is an illusion, and so is death.
Now, why do I want to talk about time? Well, the reason why I want to talk about time is because in the near future I'm going to be flying, at the time recording, to a wedding that is going to be in Europe. And the time difference is going to be 9 hours. Now, my personal hot take is the fact that we have so many different time zones, I think, is more than a bit ridiculous. Aglio e olio, super simple. The pasta water is already pre-salted, if that matters. So why do I think time is a little bit stupid? Well, the reason why I think time is a bit dumb is because it's entirely a human construct. We invented it. It's not really replicatable to other people, right? If you were to ask a dog what time is, they'd have no idea. They know exactly what grass is, but they can't tell time. I'm gonna sound like such a nonsense guy right now. But because time is a human construct, it is rife with human flaws. So, as an example, our current world, because it's round, we're not having that debate, because the Earth is round, there is a line where the time zones will all of a sudden shift from being one day to being another day.
Did you know the Earth has 24 different time zones?
Another Earth's day is 24 hours long. Is that why we have 24 zones of time?
Because the Earth is round and we have 24 time zones, there's 24 hours around the world, which implies that at any single one point, it stops being one day and all of a sudden becomes the next day. So, as an example, I live in Western Canada. If I think about Australia at this point in time, of which it is 4:30 right now, then technically Australia is in tomorrow. So is Europe, as an example. Europe is a 9-hour time difference for us, so they are technically at 1:30 a.m. So technically, even though they haven't experienced more time, they're technically in tomorrow, and I think that's a bit silly. So it is 4:30 for me, and in Europe it is 1:30 a.m. of Monday morning instead of Sunday like today is. Which begs the question, did they get ripped off with time? Despite the fact that it is tomorrow, they haven't actually experienced more time per se. If someone in Europe was born at the exact same time, the exact same day as me, and if, for example, I stay where I am and a European person stays where they are, they haven't actually experienced more time than I have, but they're already in tomorrow and I'm still here in today. Does that mean that they kind of got ripped off? So because of this silly human construct of the time zones that we have, some people are tossed into one day and other people are tossed into the next day or the previous day, depending on where you are and where the other person is. And I think that's just confusing. And my proof of this is every single time that I fly. Because, as another example, if I was to fly from the closest major airport to me, which would be Vancouver, and if I was to fly to Toronto, that's a 3-hour time difference, but the flight time is 6 hours. Even though I only experience 6 hours of actual movement, all of a sudden I'm 9 hours ahead of where I was. Which begs the question for me, do I get ripped off of time every single time I travel to the east? All of a sudden, I have a lot less day left to deal with, it feels like, right? All of a sudden it feels like I just have a lot more time just yoinked from me, and it's just because of time zones that we made up. It all just feels a bit silly to me. It really does. So technically every single time we travel around the Earth, we are time traveling in either the future or the past, and our limit is 24 hours. My proposal instead would be something along the lines of this. What if the whole Earth simply functioned on one time zone, right? Everybody, if you're in Vancouver versus Europe versus East Asia, doesn't matter, if, let's say, it's 4:33 on my clock right there, right? Let's just say that the whole Earth is on 4:33. If everybody is at 4:30, then perhaps the operating times is merely different, right? For 4:30 for me, I'm talking about close to evening. I am making dinner. But if it was Japan and it's 4:30, they're probably, maybe just starting to wake up or something like that, right? Fair enough. Versus Europe 4:30, which would be in the middle of the night, right? Need to test this pasta. Then on the flight, instead of the pilot saying, hey, we are currently at this time, set your clocks. Instead of having to set your clocks, why don't the pilots just say, hey, just so you know, like lunchtime here, usually it's at noon for most people. Lunchtime here is instead at 5 p.m., let's say. Or lunchtime in Europe here is, it'd be 4:30 here. Dinner time in Europe would be technically, it'd be 5 a.m., that kind of thing. This is where I think the 24-hour clock would be quite helpful. 24-hour clock would be at 16:35, which means that Europe, dinner would be at 5 in this hypothetical. And my thought process is purely on the basis of, let's just make it a little bit easier to understand time change or how stupid it is. Because the thought process of, people technically being in tomorrow when they haven't actually experienced more time than we have, to me just seems a bit silly. It seems weird to me that India can just be on a completely different day than I am, even though they haven't experienced more time. I'd rather see us having gauges of what time periods cover what. So nighttime here, let's say it covers from 8 o'clock till 6 a.m. at this point in time, right? Maybe nighttime in India would be from 1400 to, I don't know, 200 or something like that, right? I would wonder if that would make things a little bit easier purely on the basis of having to keep track of where you are and what time you'll land kind of thing. Because again, if we take that flying from Vancouver to Toronto example, with the current system, I fly for 6 hours and I land as if I've experienced 9 hours, even though I've only actually experienced 6 hours. That just seems silly in my mind. Instead, what if, get this, you fly for 6 hours and you land at 6 if the flight was at noon? That to me just makes so much more sense. That way nobody has to change their clocks when they, land. That way you don't have to worry about explaining logistics to people, just like, oh yeah, well, we're a little bit off on our time here, because that all just gets, in my opinion, very confusing very quickly. So that's just a thought process that I had. And this is all purely on the basis that I'm going to be visiting my brother real quick here, and I really don't want to set my clock or anything like that. It's very annoying for me to have to do that. My food is already almost done. I told you it was going to be fast. Basically just gotta finish it off, toss some cheese in there, and that's alio e olio. Good times, good fun. Yeah, so thank you for hanging out with me on this random thought experiment, and have a good one.